Hello and thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to take a look at the Patriots Power Cell. It's a solar powered, basically a little battery bank that you can use to charge things like cell phones or basically anything USB powered. If you haven't seen my other video on the Sun Kettle, click the link above. That's a great product by them also. So we're going to get into looking at this. This is the Patriots Power Cell, Patriot Power Cell. 8,000 milliamp hour battery, water resistant, 2 LED flashlight. It's got a 1.5 watt solar panel and a 6-hour charge time. I'm going to say that 6-hour charge time is off of a wall charger, not this solar panel, because 1.5 watts is not a whole lot of wattage from solar. And this isn't meant to be a solar panel to charge things. It's meant to trickle charge and keep this battery topped off. You should always, keep this plugged into the wall to recharge it, and then you can leave it out in the sun just to keep it topped off. And in emergencies, obviously use it. So it's got a nice little box. It comes in. Shows their address and phone number of where this came from, I guess. I don't know if V1.2 is version 1.2, but we'll open it up. And it's nicely packaged inside. We have a small micro USB charger. Let's take this tie off and see how long it is. Now I did charge this thing fully, so after this unboxing here, we'll go into the capacitance review and see actually how much this thing puts out. Alright, it's about maybe a foot long. 1.5 feet long. And then there's the Patriots Power Cell. We'll open that in a second. Comes with a little carabiner and clip. I'm assuming to hang it off something. The instruction manual. And that's it. Just a nice little box. So we'll get the box out of here. And we'll start taking a look at this stuff. This is the user guide. Kind of opens up backwards. But yeah, right there, the first note, fully charged by USB prior to first use, like I said, which I did. I did plug it in because I didn't want to have you guys wait. And then don't disassemble. All your normal stuff you shouldn't be doing on here. And right there, 1.5 watt solar panel, 8,000 milliamp hours, a lithium polymer battery. And it says input is 5 volts, which is a USB, 1.6 amps, and the output is 5 volts max at 2.1 amps, and they approximate greater than 500 times charging and cycling, so about 5 to 6 years. There's your indicator lights. No lights is standby mode, only green. Your solar panel's on, but you're not receiving enough to do anything. Green and blue, it's actually charging, and then your states of charge are 25% apiece, with the 5th light being the solar indicator, which is the first light on the left there. That's how to use the flashlight. You got on, SOS, and strobe. And that's how to charge it. Alright, so let's get this thing opened up and look. Take it out of this package. And there it is. It's got a nice finish. Like a matte, smooth finish almost, if that makes sense. It's nice. You can feel the solar panel under it. So that is a protective cover. The button here is on the left if you're looking at it. We'll push it and you'll see it's fully charged. It's 4 LEDs lit up. This one being that no sunlight's coming in. It's rubberized. The other side has nothing. The bottom has nothing. That's your flashlight. And there's your specs again. Total output is 2.1 amps. So 2.1 amps, that's more than enough to charge almost every device. Honestly, everything charges, even new phones, at about 1.5 amps when the screen is off. So 2.1, you can charge a tablet with this thing. At 8,000 milliamp hours, this should charge a normal cell phone on today's market twice. The batteries range between 2,000 to 4,000 milliamp hours on most phones. So we should get 2 full charges out of this thing on a phone. On top here, it's got a rubber grommet. Flip it open, and there's your 2 USB outputs and your charging port in the center. Now it does close fairly easy, but you have to make sure that it's pushed all the way down if you want to have any type of water resistant rating. So don't just count on flapping it down and going. You have to actually make sure that seal is in. And there you go. So now if I splashed it, I would assume that this thing could at least be water resistant. We'll turn on the flashlight, and I'll turn off the camera light here so you guys can see. Press and hold, and the flashlight comes on. It is extremely bright for being this small. This is your SOS. And this is your strobe. So you do a long hold to hold it on. Comes on, and then you press the button twice to go through the modes, and then back to off. So this is about the size of a small iPhone, like an iPhone 5, iPhone 6. Let me grab one so we can compare it. Okay, we got an iPhone 5 SE with a life-proof case on it. And as you can see, they're about the same size. And if you were to put them next to each other, it's just a little bit thicker. Let me square up the bottoms here. And you see, it's just a hair wider with the bumps and just a hair thicker. Weight-wise, they weigh about the same, so it's not too bad. Yeah, it fits very well in your hand. At least my hand it does. It's got good grip. I like the way it feels, so if it's possibly damp or wet out, it won't slip out of your hand. There's a slight bulge here on this little rectangle. I'm assuming that's some type of IC or circuit control in there. I've got a little clip here on the end for the carabiner. We'll slide it on and see how it actually fits. There it is. And you can hang it off whatever. Alright, we're going to set this thing up for a capacitance test to see if it really actually has 8,000 milliamp hours, and then we're going to see how long it takes to charge up by the sun. We're just going to put it through the ringer and make sure this product is actually what it's supposed to be. Alright, as you can see, we have the milliamp hours and the milliamp hours and milliwatt hours on there, so we're only going to be considered with the milliamp hours on the top and the green. So let me get a load put on this thing. And we'll go ahead and turn it up to about 1.5 amps. That's generally what things charge at. And that's underneath the specified voltage, so it should hold it just fine. And we'll go ahead and we'll turn it on. And as you can see there, the milliwatt and the milliamp hours are going up, as well as the time. So we'll just leave it here for a while. I won't bore you with it, and we'll see how much juice we can actually get out of this thing. And I'll check in periodically with the lights. As you see, all 4 lights are lit up, so it is showing 100%. And we'll come back and check on it in a little while. Alright, we've reached 1,000 milliamp hours, and as you can see, the 4 LEDs are still lit, so that's doing good. If this LED lighting system of 25% per LED is accurate, we should be getting around 2,000 milliamp hours out of each lit LED. So we'll come back and check on it again. Alright, we are nearing 2 hours and 10 minutes of a consistent 1.5 amp draw. We're at 3,400 milliamp hours, almost 3,500, and we're still showing 3 lights lit, which is concurrent with every one being 2,000 milliamps. So we'll check back in close to 4,000 and see when this light actually turns off. Alright, right around 3,700 to 3,800 milliamps is when it hit halfway. So we were looking for 4,000, just shy of hitting 2,000 on every indicator to make the 25% true. But it can pick itself up. We are still looking for 8,000 milliamp hours, so it's not coming up short just yet. Alright everybody, we're at 4,500 milliamp hours, as you can see there on the top, and we have 1 bar left. This has been a 1.5 amp draw for 3 hours, so I don't know. Kind of skeptical if it's going to hit that 8,000. We'll check and see. And at 5,000 milliamp hours, the low battery indicator light started blinking, so it did not reach the full 8,000 milliamp hours. To give the benefit of the doubt, we will recharge it again and test again at the same amperage to make sure the battery doesn't have a learning curve or a memory or anything like that. So until that time, we'll let it run out, and then we'll go into a little solar test in some pretty crappy weather. It's raining out right now, so we'll see how it does. Okay, the 4 Patriots Power Cell has died at 5,100 milliamp hours. So it is rated at 8,000 milliamp hours. We got 5,100 out of it. It got a little tiny warm, but nothing over, you know, what a wall socket would get if you were charging. So nothing serious. And as you can see, it is dead. It is blinking. So we are going to bring it into the sunlight and get this thing to charge and see what it does. Alright, I have it propped up out here. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon. It has been raining, so there are clouds overhead. It is not full sunlight out. We will let it charge up for a little bit and see what happens. Okay, so we had it outside for a few hours, probably about 4 hours or so. Again, it's cloudy out, raining. There was partial sun, mostly clouds. And it was blinking when we put it out there. So as you see, it did recover 1 dot, so it's no longer blinking. So it does charge. How long? I'm not sure because the sun is going down now. But what I'll do is I will recharge this, because like I said, we were going to test it again to make sure that those 5,100 milliamps or so, if we can get any better on that. I'll charge that and monitor how much goes back into this, and then we'll see. Because if we don't get, you know, 7,000 or so milliamps back in there, there's no way it's going to hold 8,000 milliamp hours. So I'll get it plugged up, we'll recharge it, and come back and look at it again. Just wanted to show that we are charging. It is bringing in about 1.6 amps. So we'll charge it and see how long it takes. Alright, just wanted to show how much power we got going back in. Almost 7,000 milliamp hours. I didn't record the time on it going back in because I didn't think it was necessary, but you see it's blinking on the last dot, which means it's over 75% charged now. So it's getting closer to that 8,000 that they claim, at least charging back in. So we'll have to redrain it and see what we get. Alright, and finished charging. As you can see, it pulled in 7,129 milliamp hours, and if you remember earlier, we had it in the sunlight as well. So it pulled way closer to the 8,000 milliamp hours that it lists in. We're going to get it set up and run it down again and see what happens. Alright, we discharged it totally overnight again, and as you can see, 5,181 milliamps, so it's about the same as yesterday, 5,100. We're going to set it out in the sun today. It is a clear day. It's 8:30 in the morning, and this thing is totally juiced. So let's see how much power we can get out of this thing, and possibly get it back to fully charged today. So we'll update and check on it as the day goes by. Okay, so it's about 5 hours later, and we have been rotating this with the sun to keep direct contact on it. And if you can see, it is still charging, but it has not recovered 25% yet. So going since 8:30, it's 1:30 now. We're going to continue to leave it out and see if we can at least get 1 bar up. Alright, it's 3:30. This thing has been out here for about 7 hours in the blazing sun. And let's see if I can't show you guys. There we go. It's still under 25%, and we've been out here, like I said, 7 hours. Since 8:30 to 3:30, says 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, 7 hours. So I'm hoping at least one day we'll get at least 1 bar, 25%. We'll see. I'll leave it out here some more. Alright guys, this thing has been out in the sun for 10 hours or so. And as you can see, it's showing 3 lights fully charged, and it's blinking on the last one. It was blinking a little weird when I came. I don't know if it's because of the heat, but I'm going to leave this thing a little longer out in the sun. If we get 4 dots, then we'll run another capacitance test and see what we got. Okay, we're back inside. This thing's been sitting outside for about 11 hours. So from 8:30 in the morning until 7:30. So roughly 11 hours of decent sunlight. I mean, there was partly clouds, scattered clouds and everything. We did have a storm the other day, so it was still passing through the tail end of it. But for the most part, it got a solid 11 hours of sunlight. And I rotated it throughout the day to track the sun and try and angle it towards the sun to get the best possible outcome. At 1.5 watts, and the manufacturer rated 8,000 milliamp hours, it would take days, absolutely days, to charge this little battery. Something interesting happened. If you're watching the video all the way up to this point, you'll see that it wouldn't even read 25% charge. Now when I picked it up, there was one point where it was saying it was fully charged, and it did get warm during the use outside, and you can see the green light slightly coming on there, which is interesting because I don't think the light was coming on before. So let me turn the power and see what we got. So yeah, so we're showing 4 bars. We're showing fully charged there. Well, 3, it just dropped down. So we could say a solid 3 bars, 75% in 11 hours of sunlight. Now we're gonna test that again at, I guess we'll do the same rate, 1.5 watts, or amps, I'm sorry, 1.5 amps draw, so that we can keep the test consistent. And if we're getting 5,100 out of the 8,000 recommend or manufacturer specified, then we should get a 75%. Was it at least 3,000 maybe? 3,000 milliamp hours? I don't know, my math's not right, correct me in the comments. But here we are, I'll show it's plugged in. We got 5.10 volts. We will reset the milliamp hours down there. And let's get to a bigger screen. There we are. So, no milliamp hours yet, and we'll plug in the constant resistant draw. There it is, of 1.5 amps. We'll set it up here. Oh, you see that? It already dropped it down to, oh wow, 1 bar. Okay, that's weird. I guess I'll just leave it on, see what happens. Let's just see how many milliamp hours this solar actually put in. That's weird that it was showing that much charge in there. So I think what I'm gonna do is actually, we'll run this down and see how much solar it actually put back in, and then we can calculate approximately how many days it would take to really charge this thing to full. And then I'll probably charge it again with the wall socket, and then do a lower amp draw on it to see if we can get close to that 8, but I don't think we will. So we'll come back and check on this once it dies. I actually just wanted to add this in so you guys can see it. It does say 1.50 amps up there. It's upside down. There's a fan to cool it. And then you see it is drawing 47 milliamp hours right now. Still showing 1 bar. Okay. 11 hours in the sun, and we only got 236 milliamp hours. 236, and you see it. It's blinking. It's dead. 236. I guess I'm gonna charge it back up one last time, and I'll do a lower amp draw on it and see if we get any more milliamp hours, and that'll be the final test. That'll be 3 drawdowns. That'll be outside all day, and as you can see, it's charging up, I guess. So we'll see what happens. I just wanted to add this in. If you see, it's been running about 5 hours, 17 minutes, 18 minutes now. It is 3/4 of the way full, going into the last stage of charging there. 7,000 milliamp hours in, and they rated at 6-hour charge time, so this is probably hit right about there. It's just strange, you know, that you can get the rated amount almost what they rate in, but you're only getting part of it out. So there might be a lot of loss inside of here in the electronics or something like that. So we'll just let this run and see how many milliamp hours we can get in. Okay, we have fully tested this thing in all conditions. It took a long time, a couple days, to fully test it, make sure that everything happened the way it was supposed to or specified, and there weren't any hiccups. So if you guys would please like, share, comment, subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and especially when we make long videos like this, it helps out. So I got everything written down on the board. We're gonna take a look at it, and while we're doing that, I'm just gonna put one final load on it for giggles, just to see if it changes anything. There is one thing I wanted to add, and I turned the light off to fight all the glare. This will allow you to pull 2.9 amps. And let's get this going here and see. If you see there, we're pulling 4 volts at 2.9 amps. 2.9 amps and change. And it's doing it. You see it's drawing it out. Let's switch over. You can see it's pulling 2.9 amps just fine. So it will do 2.9 amps as a max, and it cuts off after that. 2.93 it cuts off. So we'll let it run all the way down at 1 amp again. Set back at 1 amp, and we'll let it count down and see how much power we can pull out. Let's talk about the actual specs that we got. Okay, hopefully everybody can see this well in the video. We have the 4 Patriots Power Cell. It was rated at 8,000 milliamp hours, water resistant, 2 LED flashlight, 1.5 watt solar panel with a 6-hour charge time. So we went through a series of tests at different amperages, and the results are on the board right here. Test 1 was 1.5 amp draw, and it netted 5,100 milliamp hours. After a recharge and test, we tested it again at 1.5 amps. We got 5181, so 81 more milliamp hours. That's nominal. And then we did a third test at a 1 amp draw to lower it to see if that had any effect greatly on getting closer to that 8,000 milliamp hour rating. And as you can see, we only netted a few hundred more milliamp hours. So the average of the 3 came out to 5198. So right at about 5,200 milliamp hours tested, minus the 8,000. That's a 2,800 roughly difference. So that puts it at an efficiency rating of about 65 of what 4 Patriot rates it. So 65% of it, you know, take it how you want. It's a 5,000 milliamp hour capacity that will charge a device at least once, or a cell phone at least once. So now we're going to look at how the solar side did. Okay, we got the solar charge test and the input and the output test that we did up. So if you look at the solar charge test, we put it 10 hours out in direct sunlight, and it was being rotated throughout to follow and track the sun the whole way. So between 10 and 11 hours of direct sunlight, we only netted 236 milliamp hour charged. It's very minimal. So if you're looking at that in terms of how much you're getting per hour, it's about 23 milliamps an hour. If the math is correct, it would take 339 hours of direct sunlight to fully charge this. So if you're waiting on this to charge from the sun, you're going to be waiting a long time. The input was rated at 5 volts DC from the manufacturer at 1.6 amps. It was tested at 5 volts, 1.64 amps. So the input they specify when you're charging is correct. The output actually did fairly well. I was surprised. So they rated it at 5 volts DC, 2.1 amps out, and that was total between both USB ports. We were able to pull 2.9 amps consistently with spikes of up to 2.93 amps with no issues, and it continued to go. So it did outperform in the output department on amps. And now we're going to look down at the charge time and all the features. Alright, besides being a portable power bank and a solar portable power bank, it also has a flashlight. So the pros about that are, it's bright, it works. It says it's a 2 LED flashlight. I don't know where they got that from, because when I look at the LEDs when it's lit up, it looks like there's 9 small ones. Looks like they're in rows of 3. It has 3 modes: solid, SOS, and strobe. The charge time was right about what they said, 6 hours, so it's about 5.5 hours charge time through the plug in the wall. And I was able to put in 7,100 milliamp hours. So there is quite a big difference between what you put in and what it takes out. So that could be maybe electronics being used in there, I don't know. But if they're rating it at 8,000 milliamp hours, that's probably what they're charging at, because I show that could be possible. 7,100, you know, if you kept plugging it in, you could get to 8K. So overall, is it worth it? I think so as a backup. Don't count on it as a primary source to keep things charged, because you will need to use some type of alternate USB or AC plug to charge this thing and keep it charged, because the solar panel would just take way too long at 1.5 watts. So I hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.